Yes, because you were thinking to yeah, yes, for sure.
He was thinking to go.
So,
He was
gentlemen,
thinking.
one thing, możesz światło? One thing.
And the top prize, you'll see the prizes now.
More than 10,000, which means
56,000
more than
for the winner. Fantastic amount of money. And no player on this table has won that kind of money. So this will be the biggest payment that we've ever heard. At the moment, our tournament director, Suze, is just explaining the rules, making sure everyone understands that they need to put their cards in the card reader so we can all see their hands.
if you win 12.5, I'm still gonna give you only 5 in cash.
She's a tough cookie, Suze. She's a lovely woman, but you don't want to cross her. So So we started this tournament with over 1,000 players and a prize pool of over 300,000 euros, which is fantastic. Some of the records broken recently at Casino Banco, with the Winimax setting a record event for numbers in Slovakia. And we're off. The first hand has been dealt. We have a pair of sevens on the cutoff, a perfectly good hand to be raising here. You're close to the blinds. He's got 6.4 million. So 25 big blinds. And he's coming in for what looks like about 600,000, I think. Hard to tell now. Small blind has nothing. And big blind, nothing either. So I raised to 575. I was, very close. Look at that. 600 would be about the right amount. And the sevens wins the first hand. Always good to win the first hand on a final table. Just gets you settled. We have quite a mix of nationalities on this table. But interestingly, the highest amount anyone has won is round about 17,000. So the first three places will win more than they've ever won in a tournament. There's a couple of regulars, Slovakian players, that have been regularly making final tables in both this tournament, the Banco Casino Masters, and many of the other wonderful tournaments you get here at Casino Banco, like the Polish Cup, etc. Here we have a lovely big hand, kings in seat 3. So this is Igor. He's going to raise it up 650, a bit more than the previous raise. And looks like Mr. Bynes, our Israeli final tableist, is definitely going to get called here. He's got ace-9. It's kind of not a move, but if you haven't got a premium hand like kings, then it's a strong play. Unfortunately, first hand, and he certainly had more than enough to play with. He had 25 big blinds himself. He's been looked up by kings. So basically, he's looking for an ace. He's about 25%, and you can see it on your screen, 27%. He's looking for an ace from space. Or running diamonds. No, that's not going to help him much. Unfortunately, he's already standing and can't get his coat, which is always the extra 10% in poker. Get up to get your coat and bang, the ace comes in. And that's unfortunately means he's drawing dead. So 3 kings for Igor. First big hand of the night, and we have an elimination in seat 6. Mr. Bynes, or Dan, who had a perfectly playable stack of 7 million. And the short stacks on the table would be happy to see him go. And we are now down to 7 players. There's almost a double up for Igor there. So he is now moved into 2nd place on the chip. So chip leaders in seat 2, Wolfgang on 25 million. And next to him now, breathing down his neck, is Igor. Well played, young man. Although when you got kings in late position and someone shoves on you, it's not the hardest play in the world. Much more interesting. Oh, here we got an ace-9. Now this is Martin, who's definitely been up and down throughout this tournament. He's a regular here and has many cashes at Casino Banco, including the recent Polish Cup. But yeah, it's an interesting one. We've got Ace-Jack. What does Ace-Jack do here? We've got Georgi Takash in seat 1. The conservative play is just a call. He may take a more adventurous route to re-raise and find out where he is. Don't forget that Martin was on the button with his ace-9, so obviously makes your ace-jack a bit stronger on the big blind because you're possibly challenging that someone doesn't have a real hand on the button, they're just making a raise. I can't see the ace-9 coming through with this. He's going to respect this re-raise, and it's a very good raise to 1.5 million. Well played, Georgie. Not taking any nonsense there. And if the button had ace-king or ace-queen or a big pair, Jackson above, Georgie would have heard about it and then had to fold his ace-jack. So that hand was played by the book. We have our short stacks on 11 and 13 big blinds. The kind of normal line on playing a short stack is when you get down to 10 big blinds, you're either shoving or you're folding. And that probably is similar to the 13 big blinds. So we have 2 short stacks on the table. We have this time Martin coming in for a late position raise with King Jack. I love a trier. He's got to hope that someone hasn't got a bigger hand. Georgie this time not re-raising. He has the Queen Jack, wants to have a look. And King 4 is coming in, our chip leader. Wolfgang is coming in with his King 4. This is where poker gets interesting. So no one's hit the flop. Usually the pre-flop aggressor should be betting here to take it down. Unfortunately, Georgie has a flush draw with his Queen Jack. And we can see that his Jack won't help, but he's also can hit a Queen. But he's not going anywhere. Maybe won't need to raise here, because if he raises and gets re-raised by, let's say, a pair of 9s, possibly even ace-7 suited, then he makes his draw much more expensive. So perfectly good play here, just a call. Let's see where it goes. Got a nice pot though of 4 million already. We now have the king has now taken the lead. So the kicker, the king kicker, is winning this hand at the moment with the 7s and the 3s. But Martin may well be putting Georgie on an ace. So yep, there's a check behind. He's taking the more conservative option, which I think is good. Now he has won this hand, but yep, Georgie's checked, and he's just going to check and hope his king is good. And in fact it is. We can see it is. So he takes down the pot. I think he played that well. He was aggressive when he needed to be, and then just reined it in when he got a call. He knew the flush was there. He could be up against a smaller pair and be behind. A pair of fives, for instance, would be calling there. So I think he played that well. So we're already looking now at our prizes. Our next player out in 7th gets €6,800. Not bad for 3 days' work. Though that is more than I'm paid, actually. My name is JJ Hazan, by the way. Play a lot at Banco Casino. Was there a few weeks ago for the festival. What a great event that is. And I'll tell you a little bit later about some of the fabulous events we have coming up at the Banco Casino. Record-breaking numbers almost weekly now. Fantastic staff, tournament directors, poker hosts, good place to have drinks, I've been told. Obviously, I'm teetotal, so I wouldn't know. All right, I'm a little fib there. So here we have a raise with the King 10. So we've got small blind, big blind action. It's a funny one, small blind, big blind, because people can get very kind of married to their hands and their position, and you can lose. One of you can lose a lot of chips with quite variable hands. But Igor, so 2 chip leaders. Yeah, I mean, I don't see anything wrong there. Folding ace-6. The chances are he would up against a bigger ace. So I quite like the raise there. I think Wolfgang is making clear that he's there to win this tournament. Raising on the small blind with King 10 is a nice strong play. And he's even taking on the second chip stack. And I think that's a nice play. He's laying down a marker. I'm here to win, which we like. 56k for the win. Now that is a good amount of wedge. You can buy quite a few pizzas in Bratislava for that kind of money, let me tell you. No one got anything yet. And now we're on back to small blind, big blind action. Where we see Igor make his own move. We've just seen a call. Now here, our seat for Matchev, if I've pronounced it right, should really be raising here with his ace-9 suited. He's in position. Yep, that's good. Well done to him. Yep, we like that. Get the JJ tick of approval. If someone limps in on the small blind, they're really not showing much strength. And the ace-9 suited, when you're down to 2 players, is a strong hand. So I like that raise very much. Take it down without any danger. I mean, at this early stage on the final table, people are putting out feelers. They're testing the strength. They may or may not have been playing with some of the players leading up to this final table. So some will know a lot about others' play, and some will not know very much at all. So I know that ace-9 seems to be the popular hand on this table. Ace-9 suited, though, very different from an ace-9 offsuit. So Georgie in relative late position, nice raise to 650. Discipline folds with the ace-5. I like that. It's a good fold. Don't muck about with that. And he takes it down because no one else had anything. Ace-5, ace-6, ace-7. You can get into a lot of trouble if you call off with that kind of ace. And we saw an ace-6 on the big blind fold earlier, and it's the right way of playing that hand. If you hit, you can be in a lot of trouble. It's not connected either. I'd rather play ace-3 suited than ace-5, ace-6, ace-7 any day, because you've got the chance of the flush plus the low connectors. So considering a button raise with King 7, thinking one thing he's focusing on is what are the chip stacks I'm going to be raising against. And he decided against it. The problem you got there is they're relatively short stacks. In fact, A7 probably would be calling there. With a small blind, I don't think Martin will be getting too much out of shape with his Jack 6. Although you could argue that the small blind has shown weakness with his A7 by just calling. But he is a short stack, 3.3 million against Martin's. And he's hit his ace, so I think this is only going one way. Be interesting to see what he does, though. He's checked it, which is a very nice play. I like that. So this is Sir High Burbat, nursing a smaller stack. I presume he's looking to check raise, or just to... Oh, I like this. This is lovely. So he's hit his ace, and he's just slowly putting his fishing line out. In fact, even better, Martin has now hit his jack and will almost certainly think he's ahead because the ace was not bet, plus there wasn't a raise pre-flop. So it's a very disguised ace. He's going to get maximum value out of this hand. Both have a flush draw, but Sir High's is bigger. Is he just going to call here, or is he going to come in for the raise now? I think the raise is the best play because it may well induce Martin to shove, thinking he's ahead with his jack. Bit of Hollywood going on. Where am I? What shall I do? What shall I do? We love that. I think he shoved. Yep, all in for 3 million. Martin wants a count. Now it's only 2 million to call, and the pot is 5.4 million, so he's getting 2.5 to 1, and he probably thinks his jack is winning with the back up of a flush draw to the 6. He's virtually drawing dead. He's only drawing to a jack or a 6, hence 15% of equity there. Can't hit a heart. I mean, there's no right or wrong play here. He's been reeled in beautifully by Sir High. Really nice play by the small blind. Also, Sir High won't know where he is if the flush comes. He can't think his 7 of hearts will be a bigger flush. We know it is because we can see the cards, but when you're playing live against a player, you're not going to trust that your flush will be good here. So he's quite right to raise when he raises. He thinks he's winning. It's disguised ace, like we mentioned earlier. And I think Martin may have to call here. It's going to be a very good fold if he folds, if he sniffs this one out. Sir High giving nothing away. Nice and quiet. Resting on his arm. Martin trying to get information. Local Slovak player, cashed here a lot, like I mentioned earlier. Been up and down throughout this tournament. And Sir High, I think that's the Ukrainian flag. Well played there, young man. Sir High doesn't actually have a record on Hendon Mob, which is the database of tournaments. Doesn't mean he hasn't won anything. It just means that what he has done has not been recorded. So I know very little about him, but he slow played and made the most use of his small stack very well there. Well played.
can change leg? I'm going to almost go. Really, honestly. If you have like 500 less, then
So Mashiev here with an ace-7, 8-8 suited. I'm sure we'll see a raise. Late position, button folds. Martin in small blind folds. And we're on the big blind. Relative short stack. A very playable hand, 10-7 suited, but not against a raise and not against a bigger stack. So takes that down with a well-sized raise. And we're with 7 people. Yeah. Something I did just find out about Serhii Berbat, who won that pot against Martin. He's from the Ukraine, and he was a footballer. He's now 41, though. So he was a defender in the Ukraine, played for kind of 2009 to 2012 at a good level. So a competitive young man, no doubt. No, not so young now, 41. I was very impressed with how he played his hand there. He got maximum value from his opponent there. Now you want to be folding that, young man. Here you go, fold that Queen 9 offsuit. Another decision. He's picking up some hands. Very good. Mr. Kalla is picking up some hands indeed. This time he's got jacks. I'm sure we'll see a similar kind of raise. So he is a Czech player, Czech Republic. Raised to 725. I don't know if anyone's going to call. Yeah, we have a call. That's interesting. So our big blind has just, so it was an early raise, and our big blind has come in with his Queen 6 offsuit. It's a very good flop for jacks. You're really not losing to a lot. Ace 9 is pretty well or possibly Jack 9 suited, but you've got jacks in your hand. You almost want them to have a pair of 7s, pair of 8s, although there may have been a re-raise. I don't think we'll see any opposition. There'll be a bet and a fold. Wow, okay. Chip leader is a non-believer. This could well fall into... Even better now. He may feel his queen is playing with the 2 pairs on board. So I could see another call depending on how much is raised. There's 3 million in the pot. I would see about, I think about 1.75 million. Bet here would be a nice amount. It's checking. That's interesting. I don't like that check. He has to bet here. He'd get value 1.25 million. He has to feel his jacks is good enough. The king is a slight scare card, but it's been checked to him. Oh, he's very conservative there. I think that's an example of inexperience. Unlike one of the other short stacks that made the most of his hand, I think there should have been at least one more bet on the turn. That's a very good card for him. Two pairs. If his opposition has an ace, he may feel that his ace is playing, and the jacks and nines beat the nines and threes, obviously. So I think he missed a bet on the turn there, about 1.75 million, like I mentioned. We know there'd be a fold, but he'd be protecting his hand. If his opposition had a rogue king, like a king 9, a king 10, and called with a small blind, he'd have lost on the river. So he would have been protecting. I mean, if a queen came, he'd be losing. So he has to learn from that. Young Ukrainian footballer, ace-10 suited, good raising hand. He's now up to 5.4 million. So he's got 20 big blinds now. And certainly be getting respect from the table when they saw the way he played. Slow played his ace last time. So that's got through as it should do. We have some British players, friends of mine, watching this final table from Banco Casino, the Masters. 300,000 in the pot, 56k to the winner. Welcome, Harvey. Nice to see you taking a break from your poker training. Again, another hand for Serhai. Ace, jack off suit. He's under the gun though, so although it's a good hand, it's not the best position. But we've already seen he's a brave boy, Ukrainian footballer. So he's come in with the raise. Now, seat 8, who has in the hijack, has only got ace 9, but he's making a play for all his stack, 2.8 million. Will Serhai call this off with his ace jack? Will he feel that the value is just too much? He's already put 600 in. So it's half his stack to call. There's 4 million in the pot. He's getting 2-1 on his money. Not going to be happy with this, but I think he will and probably should be making the call. He's got to realise that the short stack is going to be shoving with a variety of hands here, and the ace-jack will be ahead of most ranges. Certainly looks like he's going to call, and if he does call, he gets the JJ tick. I think it's the right play. In poker, a lot of unknowns, but you have to sometimes play the odds, play the most likely combination here, and someone with a short stack. Don't forget, he only made a min raise, so it was quite a kind of weak looking raise. Doesn't mean his hand's weak. We've seen him slow play his ace already. On the other hand, it's half his stack. He doesn't want to risk against a bigger hand, but I'm pretty sure we're going to see a call. Just running it through. To be fair, C8 has not really made a move. Austrian player. I think it's pretty well his first hand that he's played. So Lukasz Austrian player has hardly played, so he may be certainly giving him more. I think he's made the call. Yep, well played, sir. I hope he doesn't get unlucky here because he's played the best poker by calling with his ace-jack against ace-9. So seat 8 at risk. He could be 7th out for €6,900. Still a good result. He's not had many results in his career so far. Might be his best result. Let's see if he can get lucky. That's a good flop for the ace-jack. Let's put a 10 there for a bit of a sweat. Come on. 10 for a straight draw. Oh, king. Okay, good card for Sir High. So he's now literally drawing to 3 9s in the pack. And no good. So we lose our 7th place finisher. Well done, Mr. Herr Schedel in Austrian. That's the extent of my German. And Mr. Lukash, well played, sir. Unfortunately, with a short stack, you've just got to sometimes take that risk and get it in. And if you come up against a bigger hand, unlucky. So still goes home with 6,800. His wife or girlfriend will be happy with that. That's definitely a Christmas shopping amount of money there. I know my wife would be dipping their hands straight in. Got a question on Facebook. I didn't quite understand it, Harvey. If you could be a bit clearer on it. Something about, I don't know. Who is the IT guy JJ? Don't know what that means. Easy fold, but he's beating. Don't know what that's referring to. Right. So Wolfgang, who's been quite active with a wider variety of hands. He was chip leader coming into the start of the final table. So, sorry, Igor has raised with a pair of 10s. But again, button raise, 700,000. Blinds are 3-6. And Mr. Oh, I like this, Sir High. Is he just going to call? Or is he going to raise with his king-queen? It's a very even hand here. 10s against king-queen, what we call a flip. So they're roughly 50-50. You can see the 10s are slightly ahead, 54% to 46%. So taking the conservative option, he's out of position. Igor's in position. He's hit his king. I think we're going to see a lovely slow play again. And I'm right. He's checked this. He's waiting for Igor to hang himself a bit. I like the way this young man plays. Very nice. So he's hit his king and he's letting Igor do all the work. And Igor started, as I say, with one of the chip leaders. He's now got 2 pairs. Did he check again on the river? Wow. No, he's this time sizing up a bet. I think he has to be betting for value here. He's only losing really, in effect, although there's a flush there, he's only really losing to Jack 10. Jack 10 suited, that's about it. He's praying that Igor has ace king or ace queen. Now Igor would have seen how he slow played the ace in the small blind about half an hour ago. Can he work out that his 10s are behind? 2 overcards and a straight draw and a flush draw. So quite a lot beating him. He knows he's up against some kind of proper hand because his raise got called in the first place. Probably going to call A for information and B because it's such a small bet, 800k. And he's, I mean, if he gets really adventurous, he could be raising here and getting lots of trouble. But I don't think there's any value in raising. There's so many hands that beat tens here. But he may want to find out. He may think he has a chance of being ahead, and may want to. But the issue you've got here is not many draws have missed. The flush got in. He's going to see the bad news. And Mr. Serhai, our Ukrainian player, certainly showing some very good disguise skills, has won another pot. Well done, sir. Very good. He started this as one of the short stacks. In fact, he was the shortest stack when we started with 8 players. He only had 4 million. He's now up to something like 10 million, I think. I'll wait to see the official figures, but he's won every pot he's played, and that's all you can do in poker. Jack 8 offsuit on the button. Certainly an option to raise here. He's shown quite a lot of strength so far with and he certainly had good hands. So on the back of that, he could be raising because people will feel he has a good hand. However, we've got so far one of the better players on the table in the small blind, and Martin, who's tricky as well. Played with him a few times. Very good local player. So Serhai taking his small ball approach. He doesn't like raising too much. He just called basically. But now Martin is putting him under pressure with a raise, and he's quite right with an ace-7 suited. Queen 9 goes both ways, this one. You can call with it and hope to hit, or as we see, a more disciplined approach is to fold. You know, you will be behind. Martin shows him the ace. And apparently, new rule at Casino Banco, if you have an ace, you have to show. I didn't know that rule, I must admit. Very good, Martin. We're down to 6 at the Banco Casino Masters, which is one of many, many events that we see here. So recently we had the record-breaking Winamax event with over 2,000 runners. Unbelievable amount. One of the biggest amounts in terms of both payout and numbers of runners. We have coming up in 7th to the 14th of November, we have the France Benelux Masters, which is a regular event at Casino Banco, 150k guaranteed with a buy-in of 130 euros. So then we've got at the end of the month, the Hendon Mob Grand Final, Hendon Mob Championships Grand Final, 200k guaranteed. But we've got back to the action because we do have a raise from Igor with 8s. Martin, quite a strong fold there, 9-7 suited. It's a hand I quite like to see a flop with, especially as he had invested something in the small blind. But disciplined fold, I'd say there. I quite like to see a flop with 9-7 suited, and up against 8s, he's really not that bad a shape. Of course, the 8 blocks the possible straights, but you tend to play 9-7, 9-8 suited to hit flushes as much as straights. So yeah, Hendon Mob Championship, which is a 200k guaranteed event. I'm sure it will exceed that for only 199 euros. That's at the end of November, 21st to the 28th. And we've also got, I mean, it doesn't stop really. Straight after that event, we've got the Polish Poker Championships, 250k guaranteed for only €100 buy-in. What amazing value that is. So we've got so many events coming up at Casino Banco. So here we've got blind on blind. Neither of them has hit. Now we've got the king hit, but it also gives an up and down to Wolfgang. I think George is happy to just take the value of hitting the king. He doesn't want to be raised on that board. Plus, it's a dangerous board with 3 connecting cards. Not the most exciting poker hand in the world, but went to form. You can see how much Serhai's stack has increased from his 4 million starting. So Jack-9 suited, nice hand to have on the button. Perfectly worthwhile hand to raise with. He's not really got out of order, so he will get respect. Looks like small blind with his Queen 4, which actually dominates the Jack-9 suited quite weirdly. He doesn't like folding once he's got chips in. Now here's a more interesting one. We've got 6s on the big blind. What do you do here? There's been a raise and a call. Do you look to maximize your return by making a strong raise, which is a perfectly valid move here? You have a pair. Pairs are strong. Very hard to get in poker. That's certainly the more aggressive approach. It does depend how how Igor feels in seat 3. He's lost a few hands already. Wolfgang is still our chip leader at 24 million. But I favour the raise. We'll see what he does. And we know that he's very unlikely to get too much resistance with the hands that the other two have. So here we are. It's a strong play. I like this a lot. Well done, sir. That's the way to win a tournament. So Igor's down to 12 million. Sorry, he actually was 8.5 million to start. So he's gone up a bit already. He's certainly here to play. I can't think we're going to get too many calls. It's a strong 3-bet to 1.8 million. If George doesn't believe him or feels that it's a positional raise, he may shove. He equally could call and take a risk with his hand. I think Queen 4 will get out of the way. I can't see Wolfgang playing that hand 3-way. Doesn't play well. But Jack-9 suited is still a good hand, and he has position on the button. So I think all options are available. There's not a lot between right and wrong. It's taken the more conservative. And in the main, that strong raise is going to get most hands to fold. Very, very good poker there. Well done, sir. So strong play by our Austrian finalist, Wolfgang Huchka. Love that name. Huchka. Very good. Sorry, Igor. Strong play by Igor Kuznier. I can't pronounce that. Some bits are too hard for me. And here we can see that our Ukrainian player is the one who's got the most from the final table so far, 7 million above his starting stack. And Igor, with that strong play, is second in terms of how much they have gained from where they started. Martin, the ace-9 again. It's definitely the hand of the final table so far. If I've got ace-9, I'm raising or shoving. I can't see George getting out the way here with his king-queen. Not terribly much value in re-raising. You've got players behind you, but certainly calling. But I think he's making, okay, big risk. Cool with 650, yep, cool. Are we considering a call on the small blind with 7-4 suited, which I love? No, we're not. Okay. See, an adventurous poker player would be calling there because you know that you're up against bigger cards. And if you hit, you're going to be pretty massive. So King Jack, trying to work out his options here. Matiev Kala. He's a big dog to the hands in front of him, King, Queen, and even Ace-9. He may elect to call because it's still quite strong hand. See what happens, he does. So our original raiser, Slovak Martin, has hit his ace. We'll see how he plays it. He wasn't re-raised, so the chances are that his ace-9 is good. If someone had ace-queen or possibly even ace-jack, he may have heard about it pre-flop. So I think he can bet with confidence that his ace is good, and we will see two folds. Went to book. And Martin has moved up slightly from his 12.7 million to over 14 million now. Again, had a roller coaster tournament so far. Very popular local player. And we still have 6 on our final table. Blinds are 150, 300 with a 300 ante. So there's already a fair amount in the pot. I can't see this final going on more than about 4 or 5 hours maximum. So settle down for the evening, get a glass of wine, and watch our mix of Czech and Slovak and Hungarian and Ukrainian players play this final table at the wonderful Casino Banco, or Banco Casino. I always get that wrong. I quite like Casino Banco. It's like James Bond, sounds better. 7-2 suited. Now, if we were playing the 7-2 game, you'd be raising here because any hand you win with 7-2, regardless of a showdown or not, everyone on the table has to pay you €100. Quite a fun game when you're playing a home tournament. And look at this. I love it. He's going, right, I'm raising with this. This is the first hand that's actually someone is slightly out of order. Now, Serhai has a pretty good hand himself. Can he? Wow, look, he got King Jack to fold. Look at that. I love it. Strong raise. And he gets the best hand by far to fold. Good poker, sir. Good poker. That's why the 7-4 suited earlier. Certainly playable hand when you're pretty sure that the two oppositions have got high cards. And in fact, if you remember, it was like ace-9 and king-queen. So you kind of know where you are. You hit your flop and you get paid. Very useful, low connected, suited cards in a tournament, especially at a final table. You have to be brave to do it, but you're here to win the tournament. Is it? The difference between the next place of about €10,000 and first place of €56,000. Don't need to tell you the difference. Maths is very simple. All poker tournaments always play to win. All the money's in the top. Our tournament director's now watching. She's checking up on me. Making sure I'm not drunk and saying rude things. Quite right too. We all need a bit of management. You got to remember, I mean, these guys are all speaking English, and obviously it's my main language, being a UK player commentator. So I think it's impressive when you can do jokes and have a good laugh with five different cultures around the table, five different nationalities, all speaking English as their second language. Very impressive. Unfortunately, the English are not so impressive and do not speak many other languages. But there we have it. That's why I prefer traveling to places like Bratislava, Tallinn, not just for the poker action and the mixed games and the Omaha, which I specialize in, but also the mix of nationalities and meeting someone from other cultures. So here we've got Ace 8. This player raised with our 7-2 of clubs earlier. I certainly think he's going to be raising with Ace 8. So this is Mr. Kala. Sorry, Mr. Matchev Kalaga, Czech Republic. It's a raise, a smallish raise, just over the 2.0. We've got Georgie on the big blind, so it's only costing him 300 into 1.4 million. Now he could get in trouble here. This is what I said earlier about playing the ace-6, ace-7. You can get in a lot of trouble. And I understand why he's calling, but the other option he had there was certainly folding. Nothing wrong with folding there to a raise. Your chances are your ace-7 is not going to be good, and in this case it isn't. Oh my goodness, look at that. So the ace-7 has actually taken the lead, but I think Mr. Kala will... He was the original aggressor, he will bet. And I don't think George is going to... He doesn't look like a very weak player. I don't think he's going to fold for one bet. He's hit the flop. May even put the pressure on. Yep, we see a raise. Quite right too. He's hit the flop. He's only losing to kind of 6-8 suited, overpair possibly, but he wants to find out, and it's a good spot to do it. So he raises to 1.6 million. I don't think Mr. Keller, unless he's feeling very adventurous, is going to go any further in this hand. Oh, he's looking at his stack. I mean, he's had a go. He's missed a flop. He has to put his opposition on a better hand, which with this flop he has. I think the best option is to fold, but yeah. So although I didn't like the ace-7 suited, he got lucky, hit a flop, but it's not a good play. You have to be very disciplined around the ace-6, ace-7, ace-8. Nothing wrong with raising in the first place with it. You find out where you are. But calling off, even though he was getting 3 or 4 to 1 on his call and got lucky and hit a flop, it's still not optimum play. We have a few more people coming in to the chat. My friend Andreas is now watching, who is the festival's front man for the TV interviews and etc. Lovely guy. He's watching. Welcome, Andreas. This is JJ Hazan commentating on the Banco Casino Masters here in Bratislava. Lovely mix, 5 different nationalities now on the final table. Local favourite Martin in shot now. Pair of 3s, I think we're going to up that. Pair of 3s on the button, yes please. Didn't even look, just grab the chips, put it in. And we certainly know that Wolfgang likes defending. This time he has a very playable hand, King 10 suited, plays very well and perfectly in his rights to defend with this hand. Much rather have this than the Ace 7. Now this is a pretty good flop for a pair of threes, so I think we will see a bet from Martin and an immediate fold. But King 10 suited is a nice hand to call with, see what the flop does. No good for him, and a good flop for an underpair. You can see the wall that Martin's building there. A lot of players like having their chips in 20s, and then they can easily see how much they've got. Most players here have got quite organized stacks. Yep, you can see there, all in 20s. Ace 2 on the button, probably a raising hand. Certainly is when it's suited. So, strong player. I think he gets respect from the table. Quite a 650, is it? And we know that a small blind doesn't fold much. He's only called with sevens, and I think that's interesting. And Igor is in a fantastic position here. He's got jacks on the big blind. If you remember, exact same happened last time. George raised, small blind called, Wolfgang, and then Igor with his, I think it was ace 7 suited, raised and got them both to fold. He's now got an even stronger hand in jacks. I can definitely see a 1.6 million bet. Be a 3 bet to 1.6 million roughly. It's just counting it out. And one of these two could get in trouble because they may wish to defend. One's got a pair, one's got a suited ace. Depends how much he bets. Don't want to make it too cheap. Just get the information in a minute. I couldn't quite see. 1.8 million. Oh, it's exactly what I said. Okay, and again, you know, George doesn't like, Georgie from Hungary doesn't like folding. And I think we've got 3 to the flop. It's a very big pot. Biggest pot of the night so far, 5.7 million. And one person is likely to hit. Well, neither George nor Wolfgang have hit. This is a pretty good flop for jacks. He only got 1 overcard. He was the 3-better, the aggressor. So I could see a bet coming from seat 3, local Slovakian Igor. He was waiting for Wolfgang to make a play. He's obviously going to check his sevens. He's got 2 overcards and a strong player who's already re-raised behind him. Small bet, very small bet. This is what we call a feeler bet. He's trying to find out where. Very small bet, 700. And is Georgie going to look to take advantage? I think he is. He's raising. Sevens folds. So Georgie is raised to 1.6 million. This is good poker. So now Igor has much bigger problem because of this small bet. Is he putting him on a queen? Is he putting him on a move? They've got roughly similar stacks. This is a very interesting hand. Igor going to go with it, and pretty well. I mean, his only play here is to shove if he wants to play it, but then he's risking being called by, I don't know, Queen 10. Queen Jack. Georgie has made the raise. He's saying, that was such a weak bet, I'm raising. And there's nothing wrong with making a weak bet as long as you've thought through what do you do if you're raised. And I'm not quite sure Igor did that. I think he just made a kind of wrong size bet, to be honest. 700k into 5 million is a funny bet. It screams weakness, and that Georgie is obviously a more experienced, older player and has smelt weakness and is making a move. And it puts Igor in a really tough position here. Looks like he's just calling. Yep. Now, can Georgie follow through or even potentially hit an ace? He hasn't hit an ace. I think Igor is looking to check call. We have to fire another bullet because we've already raised. This is the pressure pot now. This is the pressure hand. What does he do? Does he think his jacks are winning? Very strong play by Georgie. Whatever happens, it's very good poker. 2.6 million. And he's got the jacks to fold. I love that. Fantastic play by Georgie. And that all came about with a really weak bet on the flop. He didn't get information. Georgie took advantage of it, raised him, and then was able to add another barrel on the turn. So this is where this is another level of poker. Fantastic play by our Hungarian friend in seat 1. And also it's going to mess with Igor's head, especially when a friend of his or he sees this in half an hour's time. We are on a half an hour delay, of course, everyone. So I honestly do not know what has happened, although in real time, it was half an hour ago. We have this delay to make sure that no one can kind of give information to players except for historical information. Mr. Bareback with our famous ace-9. Very solid play, folding there. He's out of position. I don't mind that. I think Georgie is going to have a little rest with the 8-3. So now we're small blind, big blind, which we've had a few times here. In fact, the 6-2 was losing to 7-2. Oh, a pair of jacks. So poor old Machiev. Poor old Kala, Czech Republic player. Didn't get any value from his jacks. Mind you, didn't lose the hand like Igor did. So Igor lost something like 3 million on that pot by betting weekly. Here's our tournament director, Suze, having a chat with local player Martin. No favoritism now. Come on. Jack 10 on the button, a perfectly good raising hand. But has he lost some of the confidence that he had earlier? One of our stronger players on the table, in fact, dominates him with King 10 and is in the big blind. Can't see him going anywhere. He'll certainly be calling, considering a raise. But he has played quite conservatively, so he's folded ace-9s and some of the bigger hands. So again, yeah, I think he's certainly a more solid player. And it looks like we're coming into a break. So we should soon be back in, I think, is it 15 or 20 minutes? I don't know. Someone will tell me.
Bratislava celebrating this huge party.
Hey, what's happening? See the way I walk, I'm a bad man. I'm the major, I'm the general and captain. No heart, I can see it in your CAT scan. Oh man, someone tell him I'm a savage and a monster. And I don't really care. I don't wanna talk, I just make them disappear. Hush your mouth when I come around. Shut your mouth. Make one more move and we gon' run them down.
And you can see the Glingo Midnight is getting completely full. We papa, we papa.
Man, I want your crown, I want your spot. As a matter of fact, I want everything in the world, cause I think I deserve the goodies. My only confession is perfection is my preference. Breakfast with the gods, I like scrambled excellence. With a side of mash, you'll skull in if you try me. Talking spicy, not eat your words. Wasabi, hey, yeah, they were loud, but they ain't talking at all. From day one, terrorizing when I walk through the door. I know you missed them good old days, it ain't the same as before. Cranky kid at recess, I ain't playing anymore. To know your name, numb to it, it's Novocaine. So much on my shoulders, I look like Hunchback of Notre Dame. Want it all with no complaints, broken chains, no restraints. Or they gonna let me loose, who gon' get it? Let me choose. A little bit angry, I can't choose to let it go. You better take heed of all the things I said before. When I'm not wildin', I be cool, just getting low. But if somebody need to find me, let them know. I got real dark shades and some brand new shoes, and I'm feeling like a couple $1,000,000. If I ever feel I need more, I'll be knocking on your door. And I think you should already know what's up. I'll pull up.
Welcome back, everyone, to the final table of the Banco Casino Masters here in Bratislava. We're down to 6 players, and we can see the chip stacks on the table. 21 million down to 8 million. And although 8 million sounds like a lot less, he's still got a very playable 26 big blinds. So no one really is a short stack here. Everyone looking to ladder up and to win the fabulous prize of 56,000 euros. 3 days work. I mean, that's what, 18,000 a day. Now, do you know what? I'd be happy with that rate. If someone wants to pay me 18,000 a day for talking on poker, I'd be very happy. So I think they're seeing the payouts now. They're just getting the information from our tournament director, Suze, who actually invited me to be president of Slovakia, maybe. Apparently, the president in Slovakia doesn't even have a majority, which, although in Britain we have about 15 presidents a week, or prime ministers in our case, so I'm the last to criticise anyone else's politics. Enough of that nonsense. Back to the poker. Here we go. First hand after the break. So blinds have now gone up to 200, 400 with the big blind ante of 400. We've gone all the way around to... did someone just fold 5-3 suited in late position? Oh my goodness. Poker's dead. That's a raising hand, my friend. Igor, you raise with jacks and fold when you get pressure, and you won't raise with 5-3 suited. I'm going to say your name is not on this cup. So King 5 on the button. He's had a couple of button decisions and chosen to be more conservative, and I think he's right, because a small blind has shown a lot of strength. He hasn't raised many, but he's raised here. So it's varying up his game. I like that. So a small raise to 800k against a big blind. The big blind has to have a hand to carry on. Martin didn't. So again, very impressive Ukrainian ex-footballer in seat 5, as we currently can see it. He's done very well. His official seat is not 5. The official seat is... oh, it is 5. There you go. And he has made the biggest increase so far on this final table. And played the best poker, to be fair. Georgie played the ace-2 suited very strong and got Eagles to fold his jacks on a queen-high board a bit earlier. Trying to find out whether his neighbour will raise or not before he folds his queen 7 suited. Always good to try and get information. I think definite raising hand here on the cutoff. Ace 6 suited. Can't see anything but a raise. Should be really raising to 950, let's say. Just over the 2 point. We're getting red chips there. They're 25,000 each. Completely wrong. Looks like he's called. Sorry, 250,000 the red chips. No, he has raised to 900. Thank you. Ooh, phew. So the red chips, are 500,000, and the white chips are 100. So he's raised to 900. Now we've seen Georgie. He doesn't like folding. He's already got 400k invested in the pot, and so he is getting 4 to 1 on his money if he calls King 9. It's a perfectly playable hand. In fact, it's a hand that plays very well in tournament poker. So he's calling. He doesn't need to raise. He's already shown some very good poker instincts taking that pot. Neither player has hit here. The ace is playing at the moment. So this will be more about who plays the pot better of the two. I would think Kala will follow through on his original raise. He's saying, I've got a strong hand. I think a check here would be quite weak. I'd like to see a bet of about 1.3, 1.4 million. Georgie's not going anywhere. Again, very weak bet. People are not adjusting their range of betting enough on the flop. You know, there's more in the pot. You need to bet in relation to the pot. So those 700k may be fine when there's a million and a half in the pot. Once there's 3 million in the pot, it's quite a weak bet. Unless you have a very strong hand and want the call. But in this case, Kala doesn't. Takes the conservative option. Check, check. He's now hit his ace. I hope he bets it. Because he can't think he's behind. He missed value earlier, about an hour ago. He had a pair of jacks on a 9933 board and missed 2 bets, missed a turn bet and a river bet. Now, really, he needs to be betting here to get value because he may well get a call from Georgie, who doesn't like folding. Cannot be afraid of a jack. If you play poker, fear poker, or you're fearful of what the opposition has, you'll never win a tournament. You have to back your instincts and look to get value here when you've hit. I doubt he'll get a call. That's a strong bet in relation to his previous bets. But we've seen Georgie make some interesting plays. If he doesn't believe him, 1.6 million, it's the right kind of bet. Half the pot. But we've seen Georgie make some good plays so far. I can't see him calling with a king high. That would be strange. But in this particular case, I think if he does raise, which he's certainly sizing up, he's here to win. He's not putting him on an ace, and so the weak bet that Callum made earlier may well pay off. He's either folding or he's raising, one of the two. He's considering both. At the moment he's posturing. He is raising. It's a big raise. Look at this. Now can Kala work this out? Are you going to put him on a jack? So it's a raise of 2 million. So he's 4.5 to 1 in relation to the pot. But more importantly, he only has 4.8 million in front of him. So it's not far off half his stack to call. It's a big call if he makes it. But I mean, you know, he's hit his ace. You cannot just be that weak to fold when you've hit your hand. You can't. Otherwise, you're just letting someone else roll over the table. Love the poker that Georgie's playing. He's playing very, very tough poker. I mean, Callum's decision is either Georgie's got a jack or he hasn't. If he hasn't, Callum's winning. End of. That's the only decision he has. The kicker's fairly irrelevant at this point. Oh my goodness me. Georgie's second strong play has taken down what should have been the winning hand. Well played. Great poker from our Hungarian friend in seat 1. A slightly more mature poker player like myself, so I'm obviously a strong supporter of Help the Elderly in Poker, my latest initiative. So I think if you're 60 and above, you should get discounts to all poker tournaments. There's an idea for Banco Casino to consider, and should be more seniors events in Bratislava. That's another policy I'm pushing through. Georgie is really playing some fantastic poker here. He's making considered aggressive plays when he thinks he can get the other player to fold. And both cases, he's won some really big pots. Nice little bet there from Wolfgang. He's hit the 4 and a king-king-4 board. Only a king really is beating him. So takes down a small pot, and Georgie gets out of the way of that one. So his instincts are good as well. Instincts on that he can get a raise through and instincts where he should fold. Well played. According to Hendon Mob, our poker database, the only event that Georgie's actually cast in, he came 8th in the Belgique Poker Masters here in Bratislava for €600. So made the final table of a €100 tournament. Wasn't a big turnout for that one by the sound of it, if you're getting 600 for 8th. Maybe he's a cash player, don't know enough about him. So certainly impressed by the way he's played so far. Very good. Him and in a very different style, Sir High, who's been slow playing his big hands and getting paid, both played the best poker so far on the table. This time Georgie has a hand for once and is raising to 700. I think it's got to be minimum 800. There we go. So it's a min raise because the blinds are 200, 400 with a 400 ante. I would think Igor would defend here with King Jack, may even raise because he may feel he's been pushed about too much, just to defend. And let's see what our big blind has. King 6 suited, I would think he'll call with that as well, even though he's only got 4 million. Another option he's got here is to shove, because if he shoves, you know, he's got two ways of winning the hand. He either hits it, or probably both would have folded actually. Georgie may or may not have folded King Ace 10, but King Jack would have folded. Whoa, got a great flop for King 6 suited. He's got 2 clubs, but Georgie's hit the top pair and will definitely be betting. He's not gonna. And I could see an all-in here from Kala. He's getting value here. King Jack will fold. Should fold anyway. And I would think you're either all-in or folding, son. Here you've got to get it in. Come on. You've got a flush draw. You've got, you don't know it, but your king's live as well. Georgie's not going to fold, but you're getting value for your raise. 2.1 bet. You've got 4 behind, 3.6 rather. So it'll end up being a 10 million pot. Put you back to where you kind of started this final table. Unfortunately, you've been taken off pots by weak poker, and I think you are considering folding this as well. No, he's in, all in, and the call was there before his chips were. We have a flush draw against a top pair, so 10 million pot as predicted, but Kala is at risk, and if he hadn't folded those jacks earlier, he'd be in a much stronger position. Queen doesn't really help anyone, so he only has a 20% now. He needs any club or a king. And he is our 6th place finisher. I'm afraid he played the weakest poker on the final table, and that's what happens. I'm afraid you end up on the losing end of it. You have to play tough. You have to play strong on the final table. The money jumps are huge. You're going from 10,000 to 15 to 20 with 56 up top. And if you play weak, you'll just fade away like Kala did. Got 9,800 for his work, though. Still a good result in 6th place. And we're down to the final 5. Sir High makes a raise with Ace Queen, but unfortunately, from his point of view, no one has anything to resist.
I haven't seen my cards yet. Be careful, be careful.
I think they're laughing because someone may have seen on the 30-minute delay George's Ace 2 suited, where he took down a big pot. Martin's very happy about winning a pot on the big blind with nothing.
I know. Only good cards,
The
don't worry.
fun player, nice guy,
I see you
and very popular here in Casino Banco. And he's still in 3rd place. He hasn't played that many hands. So we have, again, we're going from 70 big blinds, which is a lot on any table. But our short stack Igor has 21 big blinds. But he was the one who folded the jacks earlier against Georgie. Or Georgi, which is probably the better pronunciation. I apologise to all the Hungarians in the world. But in English we'd say Georgie. But I quite like Georgi, it's a bit nicer name. So what the players now, there's 5 players on the table. We started with unofficial final table of 9. We lost the short stack very quickly. So we started the television, the streamed version with 8. Here we're seeing some of the tournaments that are upcoming, coming onto our screen. But with 5 players, the important thing is to adjust your range. So although you may not want to be raising with Ace 9 or Ace 10, with 5 players, it's a much stronger hand. And this is a great example. So Queen 9 suited with Martin, it's a good spot to be raising with, because it's a stronger hand 5-handed than it would be on a full ring table. So I like that play very much. He's also not played that many hands, so he's going to get respect. But Queen 9 suited is a very playable hand post flop anyway. So he's adjusting well to the fact that there's only 5 players on the table. And what I mean by that is that you can't sit there waiting for aces, kings, ace king suited, ace queen, or the rest of it. You have to play a wider range of hands, because the chances are you'll still be ahead or in a strong position with a kind of 2nd, 3rd level hand. So Queen 9 suited is a great example of that. Wolfgang has made a raise with a 9-6 suited. Will Igor, who has shown a lot of weakness really, will he make a play back with Queen 3 suited? Because he doesn't believe Wolfgang, our Austrian friend. He's certainly going to feel a bit beaten up at the moment, because he has been. But if he continues on the previous form, he'll probably fold. Yeah. So that's a good example of Wolfgang recognizing that Igor is not in a great place in his head, and then taking advantage of that with a raise. But again, 9-6 suited, very playable hand. It's an underrated kind of hand. It is suited, it is connected. and you're representing a bigger hand because of the raise anyway. When you've got those kind of hands, even 5-7 suited, you've got two ways of winning. You can represent an ace or a big hand on the flop, or you can flop it. And I always think you've actually got more ways of winning than raising with the classic kind of ace-queen suited, ace-king. So Martin, again, showing his adjustment of range, is raising with ace-8. Unfortunately, the toughest player on the table actually has a hand this time. And I'm sure we'll see a re-raise. And I think Martin may well have to fold, because everyone knows that Georgie takes no prisoners. Georgi with the ace-king in the cutoff has re-raised our original raiser, who's going to look down and he's going to fold. He won't want to fold, but he's going to. Yeah, and quite right to fold there. To be honest, whatever hand Georgie has, you've got to fold the ace-8 on a re-raise. It's a nice strong bet to 2.7 million. So when he hasn't got hands, he wins pots. When he has hands, he wins pots. And right now, you'd be probably saying that Georgie's playing the best poker on the table and is definitely here to win this trophy. Serhai is also playing very good poker, but from a very different angle. He's slow playing his hands, trapping quietly, strong. The others have been up and down. So Serhai has called the big blind with his 10-4 suited. He's dominating 5-4. This pot will go to whoever is the more aggressive. So Martin has position and probably do a bet. Unfortunately, because Serhai has shown his slow playing skills, he doesn't really want to get in trouble. Body language saying, I don't like that ace. Now, if I was playing and I was Martin, I'd be betting now, because he really did show weakness. Very good. Well done, Martin. 500,000 bet, one red to chip, half the pot, immediate fold. And I think Serhai showed a bit of inexperience there. His body language said, I hate that card. And so Martin read that, pounced, and great bet, and took down a small pot, but still winning. No pots that small at the moment. I mean, there's $1 million in before you start, with 200, 400, and a 400 ante. So no pot is that small at this stage towards the end of a fantastic tournament. So just to remind everyone, this was a 250k guaranteed, and we achieved 306k. So a total prize pool of 306,000 and 56,000 for one of these 5 players. Who's your money on, people? Any Slovak fans or Estonian? Oh, no, there's no Estonian there. Ukrainian, Czech, or Hungarian? Who do you fancy? Apart from me, obviously. Although you can't see me. So. $900k raise, Queen Jack on the button, and both. That's interesting. So Georgie, for the first time, had a pair and took the more conservative route. He's in a very different position from when he started this final table. When he started, he was it's actually second in chips, and he's probably chip leader now, or very similar, I think, to Wolfgang in seat 2. And a big raise with King 10 suited. From Wolfgang. Will Igor defend with Queen 8? And 1.5 million, that's a very strong raise. That's nearly 4x, nearly 4 times the big blind. Now, Igor has shown nothing but weakness throughout this final table at the moment. Is he going to, I'd say, wake up and shove it right back up him? He'll certainly take the pot down if he does. I can't see Wolfgang calling an all-in bet. But at the moment, what he's mainly done is fold. And I think that's what we're going to see. He's not in a great place. Wolfgang shows his king as though he has king queen or king jack suited. And Igor's body language, look how defensive he is. Arms are crossed, not looking happy with himself. His head's spinning a bit with folds. I don't know whether he knows that he was bluffed by Georgie with the ace-2, because it was a while ago and someone may well be watching the stream, or he may well have checked it out himself in the short break we had. I certainly try and do that, make sure a friend of mine, is looking and giving me any information that's useful later on. Nothing wrong with that, perfectly within the rules. So we've had a raise with a pair of 8s, Martin. Now this is again another tricky hand for Igor. He's got ace-4 and he folds. Wow. Okay. Again, negative mindset at the moment. He feels the world is on top of him. Mind you, 5th place, if he did finish 5th, is 12, nearly 13,000 euros. 3 days work, 4,000 a day. Thank you very much. Yes, please. So Serhai actually folded 10-9 suited, which I think is not a great fold in the context of only 5 players, and that's allowed Martin to raise with his much inferior excuse me, 9-8 offsuit. Had he raised there Serhai with his 10-9 suited, Martin would definitely have folded. Georgie making up the big blind with 8-6 offsuit. And 7-4 suited by... This is probably all about who hits. No one. This will be more about who's the more aggressive player. Eight is actually ahead and has now hit. Georgie will do a small bet here, I'm pretty sure. He was winning all the way. Wolfgang played that very passively. 7-4 suited, heads up. Again, two ways of winning. You represent a bigger hand or you hit with your connecting flushing cards. But only small and big blind there. No one got out of hand. Georgie's even winning the ones where he really has quite weak holdings. You can see in the break, a lot of chips have been, a lot of the white chips have been changed for the red ones, the 500k. This time it's Wolfgang that makes up the small blind. Now you got Queen Jack on the big blind. This is a raising hand, but because of the mindset that Igor is in with the hits he's had, he's just checking. It's quite weak play. It's allowing Wolfgang to take advantage. And Wolfgang is betting. He does have a gut shot draw. We have a call. An ace may well slow Wolfgang down, but nope. Again, he's red weakness from the big blind. Igor, so he's following through. Igor will just fold because he ain't in the right place, baby. He needs to go for a walk, get a slap around the face from a friend of his or his girlfriend, and come back in with a different mindset. You can't play tournament poker with a negative mindset and body language, and that's what we're seeing from him. He feels the whole world is against him, and you have to get rid of those thoughts, clear your mind, especially if you know that you're bluffed when you have jacks by ace-2 suited from seat 1 Georgie a while ago. You'll be letting that, if you keep that in your head and that's, you worry about that, you're never going to be able to replay properly. This time, Igor has a good hand. I'm sure we'll see a raise. Just a call with tens. Wow. Oh no, what must have been a raise? Oh, sorry, it was all in. I didn't see that. And although you might say that that's good play, he's got tens, he's gone all in. Again, he's missing value from having a strong hand. Because he's been so negative, you then can turn that round into a positive because everyone feels he's weak, he's the guy to attack. So you make a min raise there, you may well get called or re-raised, which is what you want. So he has to turn around the negative headspace he's in and then make that into a positive. So play on the fact that he knows people will attack him, which of course they have been. So, but of course I don't know the guy. I don't know how he thinks. I think he's pushed again with ace-5. Martin, does he have a hand? Queen 10? No, that was, sorry, Sir High's hand. Martin has King Jack. May well consider calling because of the weakness Igor has shown. It's a real 50-50 flip, this. You call with King Jack. He's slightly behind. You can see the odds 60-40 against. But he can afford it. It's less than half his stack decides against. Nothing wrong with that fold. It's a tricky situation. You could well be dominated by a hand like ace-jack, possibly king-queen. likely to be ace king, but you never know. So, and he was actually losing to any ace, which is exactly what Igor had.
King Jack co mal. Preza w peticji musel by som trafiť, jo, tak si to. Aha.
Igor now being presented with an array of playable hands. We know his post-flop play has not been good. I think we're going to see a raise to just over $1 million. I think he's gone all in again there. The problem with this play is that if someone does have a big hand behind, they're going to get looked up. Okay, we can see that no one has. Georgie's doing a bit of TV time, as we call it, or Hollywood, pretending he has a big hand and that he's going to make a big fold. Bit of Hollywood. Oh, look, I've got a good hand. Jack 2 offsuit. Nice bit of theatrics there, young man. Well done. I mean, Igor's now had 3 all-ins out of the last 5 hands. It's a sign that a player is not confident to play post-flop when you're pushing. Nothing wrong with the hands he's pushing with. The problem is if you do get called, you're almost certainly behind. So it's a strategy that only works till it doesn't. See, this is again an interesting hand. Jack 8 suited in an early position. What does he do here? Probably fold it. Oh, he's going to raise. Okay. Good. Nice. Yeah, 1 million exactly. Georgie's got nothing, and nor does Wolfgang. So the Jack 8 suited got through. This time he didn't push because he was down to about 5 million, and now he's up to 8.5, 9 million. So he didn't need to make that push. Here we see the chip stacks. Georgie has in fact taken the chip lead with some fantastic poker to 29 million. Our original chip leader, Wolfgang, similar stack, but is in second. Martin with 15 million is right in the middle. And then Igor has dropped down quite a bit to 9 million. And Serhai, who's the more solid player on the table, certainly the tightest player, is on 7.4 million. But 18 big blinds, so still very playable. I think if he's in a pot with you and I'm one of the other players on the table, he'd be the one I'd be worried about. He's been slow playing his winning hands very effectively. I like this from Martin, a raise with 6-5 suited in the cutoff. Very nice. 900k. We've had a call with 9-7 offsuit. That's adventurous from Wolfgang, but he's got the stack. And that is a fantastic flop for Martin. 2 hearts and a gut shot draw. So any 3, any heart, and in fact any 5 and any 6. He's big favourite there, and he's not going to get a call anyway. That's why you raise with hands like 5-6 suited. 2 ways of winning. You represent the big hand, or you hit a lovely flop like that. I do. Well done, Martin. When I meet you in person, whenever we meet, I will congratulate you and give you a jolly good English handshake, because that's what we do, apparently.
They believe
Igor on the small blind with 10-9 suited, definitely a raising hand. However, he knows he's against one of the stronger players on the table, so if he does raise and get called or re-raised, he'll certainly have to fold. But you cannot fold 10-9 suited with 5-handed on a final table. It's a very strong hand. So I favour the raise. He favours the call, of course. And I think we'll see a check from the Queen 7, although he's certainly noticed weakness from Igor. Now we're going to see a flop. No one's hit much. This will probably go down to who bets, who is the more aggressive player of the two. Check, check. So now Igor's hit his 10, but will he bet it? Cannot be scared of many hands here. The only hands beating him are Queen 10, King 10. Nice bet, 600 I think into, so it's half the pot. And we will see a fold from the tightest player on the table. Well done, Igor. Getting some confidence back now, which is great to see. He certainly, throughout this final table so far, has lost a lot of what he started with. And to even get here, you know, he must have played some pretty good poker over the last 3 days to make this final table. So we've got Igor's raised on the button with Jack 9 offsuit, nothing wrong with that. And Sir High is actually defending with King 6 suited. This is an interesting play. Martin's getting out of the way with Queen 4 suited. And I think he's defending because of the weakness that Igor has shown. So I think he thinks he'll be able to outplay him on the flop. His king is actually winning at the moment, although he won't know that. Now here, the original raiser should be following through and making a 3-bet, but unfortunately he checks. The ace is probably going to stop both of them. Neither will like the ace. Yeah, I see check, check coming through. Good. Oh, this is nice. I like this. Very good. 700 bet into 2.8 million. Immediate fold. So Igor's now finding his mojo. His poker skills are flooding back, and I'm no longer going to say he's the weakest player on the table, which to be fair he has been, but the way he's played in the last half an hour has shown a definite change, and we have a change of dealer. Definite change in gear. Well done. Good to see. Makes the final table more competitive. 5 players left. Seat 1, Georgie is our chip leader and played the best poker of the lot. Our original chip leader when we started this final table is in seat 2. That's Wolfgang, our Austrian friend. Igor in seat 3 has gone down quite a bit but is fighting back hard. Serhai was our short stack on the table when we started, and he has more than doubled up. And Martin has been pretty well middling throughout the tournament. So a long way to go still. A good few hours left. I hope that you're enjoying the coverage and the poker. And here we go. Hello. So I've gone, right, I've got a hand, King 10. Anyone's got better, call me. Dangerous play against Georgie. Let's see what he's got. Has he got anything? He can. No, he hasn't. 9-2. Bit of Hollywood, then he'll fold. No, just the fold. Didn't bother with the Hollywood that time. So when you got 5.6 million and there's $1 million in the pot already, the shove is very effective because only a premium hand can call you. I mean, if you're sitting there on the big blind with ace-9, it's very hard to call because it's costing you an awful lot of your stack. So because the blinds are so high now, shoving is definite option from the shorter stacks, from anywhere between 10 and 20 big blinds. So nice play there, Sir High. Picks up, 20% of his stack is increased just with one move. And also adjusting his range, King 10. Now here we got a challenge for Igor. How does he play Ace 4? He doesn't. What's the answer? We've got small blind, big blind action. Making up. So Georgie is underrepresenting his hand here. Should really be raising with ace-9. He's slow playing it and actually totally dominating queen 9. He's allowing Wolfgang to bet. That's the problem with slow playing a bigger hand. So he plays his weak hands well. He doesn't necessarily play his strong hands that well. He really should be raising. Ace-9 on a small blind with 5 players is a raising hand. And he let Wolfgang win that one, I think. So for all the strengths he has shown earlier, there's a little chink there. Just took his foot off the pedal. Come on, Georgie. I've been rooting for you. I don't know you, but you've been certainly playing the best poker. So don't let me down now, son. Now, Sir High, with a better hand than he raised with last time, has shoved again with ace-10 under the gun. Will any of the other 3 wake up with a big hand? Martin folds. Georgie folds. We've got 2 players left, and they're all folding. Oh, no, we have a call on ace-queen, and Sir High is very unlucky here. He's run into that big hand. He's getting up. He's getting his coat. He's 4-1 dog, only has 20% here, has to hit a 10 or a straight. So the ace-queen from Wolfgang, who was our chip leader, is in very strong position. Waiting to see the flop. Nothing wrong with Sir High's push. Your problem is if someone in later position wakes up with a big hand, they're going to call you, especially if they've got the stack to afford it. It's only a quarter of Wolfgang's stack. Can he get lucky on the flop? Well, it's not an awful flop. At least he's got a runner straight. So you can see that his equity is still a quarter, about 23%. He's also got a split pot possibility. Any 9, any 4, sorry, any 5 is a split pot. And he is out in 5th. Well played, young man. Did well up until the final stages. Probably didn't quite play enough to... So he doubled up from 4 million to about 10 million. And then it reduced down to 5-6 million because he didn't play that many hands. So now we are down to 4 players at this final table. Looks like we're taking a quick break. And we'll be back with you after that break. Don't know if it's a comfort break. Everyone's having a bit of a stretch, which I will as well. Are we going into the ads, guys, for the next fabulous events happening? work and still be I spoke to two of the original started it, was some barley broken. Said arrangements go out there. Plated, but also they're a good size, they're smaller. Just cremated the meat. Bollocks. Just ruined all that meat. Okay. Can you cut me some off? Alright. I'll do it. I've just ruined. Put it on too long.
We are now in Bratislava celebrating this huge party.
Hey, what's happening? See the way I walk, I'm a bad man. I'm the major, I'm the general and captain. No heart, I can see it in your CAT scan. Oh man, someone tell him I'm a savage and a monster. And I don't really care. I don't wanna talk, I just make them disappear. Hush your mouth when I come around. Make one more move and we gon' run them down.
You can see the Jingle Midnight is getting completely full. We papa, we papa.
Spot, matter of fact, I want everything in the world, cause I think I deserve the burdens. My only confession is perfection is my preference. Breakfast with the gods. I like scrambled excellence with a side of mash. Yo, scarlet if you try me. Talking spicy, not eat your words. Wasabi, hey, yeah, they were loud, but they ain't talking at all. From day one, terrorizing when I walk through the door. I know you miss them good old days, it ain't the same as before. Cranky kid at recess, I ain't playing anymore. Your name, numb to it, it's Novocaine. So much on my shoulders, I look like hunchback in Notre Dame. Want it all with no complaints, broken chains, no restraints. Or they gonna let me loose. Who gon' get it? Let me choose. A little bit angry, I can't choose to let it go. You better take heed of all the things I said before. When I'm not wildin', I'll be cool, just getting low. But if somebody need to find me, let them know. I got real dark shades and some brand new shoes, and I'm feeling like a couple $1,000,000. If I ever feel I need more, I'll be knocking on your door, and I think you should already know what's up.
So who's supporting the American clients you took on? Who's supporting the American ones?
Me.
Now?
Yeah.
What about the time difference?
Most of the time I just try to set up schools so it works for both. So it really
Is it 6 hours?
depends where they are. I kind of call now at 6. And it's
11 p.m.
PM.
Oh, 11 a.m.
Yeah, they're on the west coast.
That doesn't make... Oh, 11 a.m. Yeah, so 7 hours. Yeah, it's sometimes 8.
Sometimes I can,
Oh, that's all right, but you can just do it from here, can't you?
yeah, or like they're Eastern, they're just 1 hour time. So like, they're 9 AM to 12 PM. So I have them from 9 to 12.
Yeah.
So I can still get with some things in UK business hours.
Yeah.
Just a bit earlier than that, like 9 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, I do quite a lot of stuff with Americans, so it can work. So you've not got any UK ones now?
Sorry, I have both.
Oh, wow. Right. Would your work pay for like an apartment and everything?
No, they said they would, but
I think they'd have to.
well, they either have to or just
Or not send you because it's not economic. If you're moving to another country for work, they kind of have to. It's part of, you know, normal. Or they give you an allowance. No, bollocks. Yeah. Shut the door. A quick break there, and here we are back at the final table of the Banco Casino Masters. Payouts have just been shown. Don't know whether the players have talked any kind of deal at this stage of a final table. Quite often the players, if they have relatively equal stacks, will talk about a money deal. Next payout, I think, was 18,000 up to 56. So the kind of deal you'd be talking about is everyone getting kind of third place money and still playing for the tournament. They're showing the payouts there. I think a deal probably has been suggested by one of the players, which is why they would have stopped. We have our next hand with 4 players left. Again, each player has to adjust their range with only 4 players left. The ace-8, ace-9, ace-10 becomes a much stronger hand than a full table. King-Jack suited, Queen-10 suited, all these kind of hands start to become strong. And Igor has a proper hand and is flat calling. Really interesting. It's a good strategy if someone has a good hand and will raise, but if not, you can walk into trouble. The Martin's now hit a 10, almost certainly going to bet it. And now got in trouble by not raising with his ace-queen. And Martin has got even stronger, now 90% favourite. He's hit a 10. Nice wallish bet, which is lovely. Trying to get the call from Igor. Will Igor get in trouble? And certainly calling. Yep. The only out, and he's in real trouble now because he's hit his queen. Martin has 3 10s. Igor has almost certainly going to call a bet here, depending on the size. Didn't bet. Okay, missing some value there, but then the ace-king has made a straight, so he didn't want to walk into a straight. Happy to take a 2 million pot. Well played, Martin. And that reason he won that pot was the weak play of Igor. He's got a big hand on the small blind. He should be raising there, and if he just picks up the blinds, well, so be it. He actually ended up losing $1 million rather than winning 800,000. So that's a swing of 2 million. And although he has moved up from his lowest point by playing a few hands, by pushing all in with playable hands, he's still showing a lot of weakness for me. Again, he's got a strong hand on the button. I think he's pushed all in. Now Georgie may consider peeling here. Got King 9, very playable hands, 27 million. Nope. Takes the sensible route of folding. He doesn't know what he's up against, but he's almost certainly dominated and was. Still had 40% equity though. Martin with the King-Jack on the button. Perfectly good hand to be raising with. Snap call on the big blind. With 8-7 offsuit. Reasonable hand to defend with. Needs to hit a flop though. Otherwise Martin will take this away from him. No, he's just checking. Okay. By checking, he has allowed Wolfgang to hit. He does have the diamond draw though, so that's pretty much in his favour. And has hit. His hit is flush. And he's betting it.
Check.
And gets a call. Picks up another nice pot there. 4 million this time. Picked up 2 million last time. So Martin playing his hands well and getting a bit of luck along the way.
Did you hit it on the turn? First flush.
Problem with calling with a hand like 8-7 offsuit and then even hitting is you could still be losing to a bigger hand that's raised in the first place. So there is an argument for folding that kind of hand pre-flop.
And then I would fold.
Georgie coming into a pot for the first time for a while. Raising with the suited king. I think Igor will probably fold his 9-2 suited. Not in the mind space to call or raise. I think George is also in a great position with the two players to his left because if Martin folds, he's in a great position to raise with only two behind him, one of whom is playing fairly passive, weak poker, and the other who is not in a great mindset. So here we've got some of the tournaments coming up. At the end of this month, we've got the Polish Poker Championship. €100 buy-in for a 250k guaranteed. I am pretty sure that that will be a fantastic event with some big numbers. This time, Georgie, in under the gun, has ace-10 suited. We'll certainly see a raise, probably to just over 1 million. No, he likes the 900, just under. Okay. 2.2x. Martin's coming in with a pair of sixes. So it's called set mining. He's looking to hit a 6. Oh, this kind of flop, to be honest. That's a pretty good flop for a pair of sixes. Check, check. That's going to give Martin some confidence that his sixes are winning. He now knows his sixes are winning. He's hit a set. Nothing wrong with playing sixes this way. But Georgie has a gut shot. He doesn't like folding. Georgi. And now, unfortunately for Georgi, he's hit the 10. I don't think we're going to see any more bets, but that also stopped Martin, who's posturing that he would call any bet. But the truth is, a 7 would have made a straight, and he doesn't really like it so much. But again, he's taken another pot. So since we've been four-handed, I think Martin's won just about every pot and has increased his stack in a really strong way. I think something like 10 million since we came back from the break.
I was waiting for your bet. I would call it not raise, but
Martin saying he would call you. Now Igor has a pair. The way he's played these kind of hands is to be shoving, but this time playing it a little better, I think. Just raising. Is Georgi going to play his hand or play the player? He's decided to fold. I think that's wise. And although Igor has been weak on this final table, he's going to have hands, and he's at some point going to go, look, I'm going with this one. So if you are going to re-raise Georgi, which I know is your strength, I think you need to have the right hand this time. So we can see the blinds, 65, 62. Even the short stack Igor has 23 big blinds. It's a very playable stack. So no one is in what I would call a short stack.
It was very tricky.
Everyone has playable stacks. Long way to go. I think in the last break they did discuss a deal. I'll find out what that is for you and communicate it through when I hear myself. And it makes sense when you've got 19,000 through to 56, just to spread the money. Everyone gets something like 25 each, maybe 30, and you're still playing for the trophy. So they have the information just through, guys. So here we go. So they did an ICM deal. I'm just getting clarification on something. I'll come back to that and report that later. We still have 4 players left. There's no deal that's been agreed so far, but I'm sure if we do get down to 3 tables, there will be a deal. Igor, again, playing an ace weakly on the blind. He's just allowing the small blind to hit, to be quite honest. It's not good play. And Wolfgang will play aggressively against Igor because Igor has shown far too much weakness on this final table. You wouldn't normally be betting this flop with Queen 7, but against Igor, I think it's the right strategy. Because 8 times out of 10, it's going to get through. Of course, I'll get proved wrong now and he'll call a raise, but I think he's going to fold. He's in a very negative mind space. He thinks whatever he has is losing to whatever his opponent has. And that's a direct result of not raising on the big blind when you've got a mid-ace. It's a strong hand, four-handed. You need to be raising with that and finding out where you are. If you get re-raised, fair enough. You have a decision to make. Are they playing me or are they playing their hand? But he's contributing in the main to the losses that... The pots that he's losing. It's not really the others. They're just recognizing that he's a weaker player and they're capitalizing on it. But he needs to relook at this stream if he can. Perhaps listen to the commentary as well. If he speaks good enough English, I don't know him. And hopefully kind of learn from it, because obviously he's played good poker to get here, but from what we've seen on the final table so far, it's not been good. He'll be raising here though with the King Jack suited, but Has Martin got a hand? Looking interested. Can't see it yet. Nope. Fold. Okay.
Teraz nespravím tú istú tému. Je to iné zase? Podobný. Trošku hlbšie, ale... Ja som mal podobný šik. Presne, velice bol podobný. Takže tak rozmýšľam, že či si to teraz spravil z tú kartu silnú, a ešte vývojčku som si dal. Aj 5 sekúnd.
On to the next hand, we've got blind on blind. Martin with a very playable hand, 10-9 suited, has raised in the small blind. For all his poker powers, even Georgi will fold Queen 2 offsuit. Well played, both of you. This time Igor has the 10-9, although it's not suited. Under the gun. How's he going to play this? Aggressively by the look of it. Martin with a strong hand, four-handed, four-way. Will almost certainly re-raise. Or of course hasn't. I think he's just called, is he? Yeah, just called. Interesting play. But it has allowed Wolfgang's Jack 10 to come in because he's getting good value. So Igor in a world of pain here because he's hit his 10 and is losing. But he won't know it. Plus he was the original raiser, so he's got to follow through. And I think Martin may well fold, and I think Wolfgang will either raise him all in and get called, and we may be down to 3. Not a good flop for ace-jack. He hasn't got the backdoor flush draw either. Probably give it up. Yep. And we see a raise, just as predicted. I don't think Igor can fold here. He hasn't got that much behind. He's hit his 10. And he sees the bad news. That is dominated by, it's only one card, but it's actually massive in poker because really Igor is just drawing to a 9 because even a flush is no good because Wolfgang has the 10 of clubs as opposed to Igor's 9 of clubs. So he's in a world of pain and he has 18-20% equity, even less now. Down to 15%. He basically is drawing to one of 3 9s, and he is out in 4th place, which is
Ace-jack. I have ace-jack.
Martin's making a point. He had ace-jack, and had he stayed in, he may have won, but he would have had to call off 6 million stack. Igor leaving us in 4th place. Here's our payouts. We've got 56, 34 and 22. I'm pretty sure these three will make a deal and what's called smooth out things. 2 ways of doing deals. You either do it on what's called ICM, which is a system that links to the amount of chips you have. It favors the slightly smaller stacks because the system recognizes that one double up and the whole thing changes. So arguably the chip leader, in this case Wolfgang, due to that last spot, will, if you like, give away some of his potential equity. But anyone can win from this point. They all have enough stack. So I'm pretty sure we're going to see a deal at some point. So Georgie, lovely King 9 suited on the button, has raised, and he has one caller. We're down to 3 players in the Banco Casino Masters. Perfectly fair call with Queen 10, not a lot in it. 60-40 or technically 58-42. So now the King has hit, but Wolfgang is up and down with the King Jack. The flush has got there, but the King will take it down. Hands coming thick and fast. Now we're down to 3 players. We have a raise with a Jack 10 in the small blind against strong player of Georgi. But again, 3-handed. Quite well played, Martin. Just adjusting your range to the fact there's only 3 players. Perfectly good hand to be raising with such few players. I mean, the smallest stack has 48 big blinds, so that's a lot of chips. Any one of the 3 could play it. Georgie's been the most aggressive. Martin, I think, has played very solid, strong poker. And Wolfgang has been winning key pots and was a chip leader to start with and is still the chip leader. So although Wolfgang plays less, he's won the pots he's been involved in more. So the E all have their strengths. I'm sure they're going to be discussing a deal either now or very soon. Here comes Suze with the payout information. They want to discuss a deal by the sound of it. We're going to have a short break, guys, while they discuss their deal, and we'll be back with you very soon.
Bratislava celebrating this huge party.
Hey, what's happening? See the way I walk, I'm a bad man. I'm the major, I'm the general and captain. No heart, I can see it in your CAT scan. Oh man, someone tell him I'm a savage and a monster. And I don't really care. I don't wanna talk, I just make them disappear. Hush your mouth when I come around. Shut your mouth. Make one more move and we gon' run them down.
And you can see the gringo midnight is getting completely full. We papa, we papa.
Man, I want your crown, I want your spot. As a matter of fact, I want everything in the world, cause I think I deserve the goodies. My only confession is perfection is my preference. Breakfast with the gods, I like scrambled excellence. With a side of mash, yo, scarlet if you try me. Talking spicy, not eat your words. Wasabi, hey, yeah, they were loud, but they ain't talking at all. From day one, terrorizing when I walk through the door. I know you miss them good old days, it ain't the same as before. Cranky kid at recess, I ain't playing anymore. To know your name, numb to it, it's Novocaine. So much on my shoulders, I look like Hunchback of Notre Dame. Want it all with no complaints, broken chains, no restraints. Or they gonna let me loose, who gon' get it? Let me choose. A little bit angry, I can't choose to let it go. You better take heed of all the things I said before. When I'm not wildin', I be cool, just getting low. But if somebody need to find me, let them know. I got real dark shades and some brand new shoes, and I'm feeling like a couple $1,000,000. If I ever feel I need more, I'll be knocking on your door. And I think you should already know what's up. I pull up.
And we're back, and I can tell you that a deal has been agreed, three-way deal. I'll take you through that. You can see the chip counts that Wolfgang is chip leader and Georgie and Martin are very similar. So they've done a deal under ICM, which, like I said before, kind of smooths out the process and can be against the chip leader, but the chip leader needs to know that anything can happen. So Wolfgang is going to take the largest amount with the largest chips. He will take 37,000 euros guaranteed. Georgi and Martin, pretty similar, 32,500 each. So they're guaranteed that amount, but under the rules at the Banco Casino, and also under the rules of many casinos, certainly here in the UK, 10% of the remaining money has to be kept for the winner. So we have 11,250 additional euros for the winner. So although they're all guaranteed 32,500 each, with Wolfgang guaranteed 37, any of these three can win this tournament. They get the trophy, they get the kudos, and they get an additional 11,000 euros. So thanks for the tournament director, Suze, who sent me that information through. I think hopefully that's clear to everyone. And we're back in the game. We've got a 4-2 suited playing a 9-7. The 4-2 suited not only has hit a flush draw, they've also hit the 2. So Georgie is in good shape here. He's not going anywhere. So there's a gut shot for Wolfgang. Georgie is just called. In pretty good shape. So he's only really going to lose to a 9, to a 7 or an 8. He's still leading with his 2, but will he read through Wolfgang's bet? No, Wolfgang's aggression won there. Well played, mate. Very good. So he bet and carried on betting his 3rd barrel, 3-barrel bet, won it. I think Georgie felt he had to hit his flush to be ahead. Could have spent a bit more time thinking through, though. He didn't really think about that hand much. He just immediately folded. And I know that's something I do sometimes, and it's something I berate myself. I smack myself on the bottom with a big stick, because sometimes I just don't spend enough time thinking through a hand, and I get why he's folded, but he did it so quickly that he just didn't give himself a chance to think through what hand could Wolfgang have here, and could his 2 be good? And he can still fold, but needs to think about it a bit more. But he doesn't need to think about this. He's got kings on the button. Raise, but no one's got a hand. He's going to show everyone the kings. There you go. Look at this. I'm a kings on the button and no action. That's almost as bad as a bad beat, isn't it, Georgie? Almost as bad. That's how I feel about it. If you've got a big hand, when you're 3-handed and no one calls, you kind of go, almost as bad as a bad beat. Got a few chats here, but unfortunately some of it's not in English. Thomas Bose. I have no idea. Maybe one of the players' nickname is Bose. Don't know. Happy to communicate, guys. If you can talk to English to me, that would be very helpful. Although I do speak a few languages, I don't speak Bose. So Martin has raised with King 3. And then a nice strong re-raise. Georgie is pair of 6s. He's taking no nonsense. He's going, well, if you've got a proper hand, let's hear it. And I think Martin will pretty well get out of the way here. Yep. I don't think many people are going to take Georgie on. He's shown strength. He's shown hands. And I guess by now they also know he's capable of some big bluffs. The problem is they don't know when he's got it, when he hasn't got it. So he's definitely the strongest player on the table. And despite Wolfgang's more passive approach and having the chip lead, I do expect Georgie to find a way of getting through and winning this tournament. He was my early favourite when I saw him play a couple of hands, and that hasn't really changed. But anyone can win. They've all got chips. The right hand at the right time. Bang. You knock someone out. They've all got 32,500 guaranteed. Playing for 11,500 and the trophy and the title of the Banco Casino Masters champion. So lots to play for still. I can see a raise here with a queen jack on the button. Again, Got to adapt your range when there's fewer players. And Georgie, even though he hasn't got any kind of record on Hendon Mob, he obviously has played a lot of poker because he plays very strong optimum poker. Wolfgang made an interesting call with 7-3 suited, which I like. Don't mind this at all. They've both hit the flop. I think we'll see a bet and a call here because I don't think Wolfgang's going to fold for one bet when he's hit second pair. If you play 7-3 suited and hit, you don't want to be folding. Don't know whether he'll pop back. I think just the call. Yep. Just got to now work out, is Georgie playing his strength or is he playing... That 6 is going to favour both players. It strengthens both their pairs. And I think Wolfgang has taken the right option to fold. He read that Georgie has a hand rather than is just playing back at him. So both players played that hand very well. Nothing wrong with calling three-handed with 7-4, 7-3 suited, 5-3 suited, 5-4 suited. They're all good hands, and if you hit, you're in good shape. Unfortunately, he hit second pair rather than a straight or a flush draw, and Georgie had top pair. So the blinds are now 255. So strong blinds. That means there's 1.25 million in the pot before there's any kind of raising. So here your 5-4 has hit. Martin has hit second pair. He's going to bet to find out where he is. An immediate fold by Georgie, who doesn't muck about. He doesn't do too much Hollywood, really. If he hasn't got it, he'll fold and on to the next hand, which I like. I think it's respecting the table and the other players. Some of these young players with their headphones and sunglasses spend hours, you know, taking TV time up, and you really think you've just wasted 4 minutes of my life. But these three all... Oh, I think what's he been off to get? They're all off and running. We've got something. No? Okay. No idea what's going on. I like the wacky races there for a minute. 1980s reference for you. Oh, Georgie's got a big hand in the small blind. Ace King suited. He's going to be raising and he wants a call here. And he's getting one. Wolfgang doesn't like folding his big blind. We've definitely noticed that. And he's got the stack to call. Jack 3, he hasn't hit. I don't think this will go too far. Georgie will bet. Oh, he's slow playing it. That's interesting. So he's deliberately slow played. He might have to bet now. No. Very interesting line he's taken here. I'm not keen on that line because he actually allowed the flush to get there. He allowed the straight to get there. 3-5 makes a hand, flush makes a hand. If you've got ace king and you hit an ace on the flop, my book says just bet it. You don't need. You can only play cute if you've got the flush draw there. If you hit your top pair, top kicker, just bet it. Don't allow someone to find a weird way of getting there. So, although he's been very strong, I think he's also showing a little bit of inexperience there, or at least a strange line to win that pot. Flat call on the button. I think we've got 3 to the flop. Yep. So they've all called the 500k. And Wolfgang has smashed this with top 2 pairs. Georgie has hit the 7 and may not want to fold. Martin has now got an up and down with his 6-4 on the 5-7 and also is unlikely to fold. Wow, really? It's a chance to win a big pot there. I don't think I fold that. Okay, you could be up against a bigger straight, but it's unlikely. As it turns out, Wolfgang is betting his top two. Will Georgie make a move like he's made before, or just call off with the one pair? I think we're calling. Going to see the bad news. Not even going to show his hand. There's no point turning your hand into a bluff there. There's too many hands out there that have completed. There's straights, there's two pairs. So I think a call there is fine. Wolfgang played that hand very well and got pretty good maximum value, I think, from his top two. So well played, and is moved further ahead in the chip lead since we made the ICM deal. Raise on the button by Wolfgang. Martin obviously has a hand, and I think has re-raised. So Martin has re-raised with an ace-9. Yep, very good. So he had a raise to 2 million and a lovely 3-bet. Ace-9, again, three-handed, very strong hand. A lot of hands are going to be raised on the button. And he dominated Jack-9. So well played, Martin. Good poker, good instincts. Know your hand and know your player there. Well played. So everyone folds to the big blind. Nothing much to report on that one. Has Martin got ice cream there? What's he? Oh no, it's a coffee. It's a coffee. Well, he had a bowl of ice cream. We're spoiling these players. They've all got 32,000 euros in the pot. They can afford to buy their own ice cream. Come on, Casino Banco. Or Banco Casino. The other way of putting it. Let's not spoil these players. Make them put their hand in their pocket. And a raise on the small blind. And Martin obviously doesn't have a hand to... Nothing wrong with that. A pair, very strong, three-handed. So perfectly good raise on the small blind. And he was totally dominating Martin's 5-2 suited. Now, had there been a flat call there, I favour the raise with 5-2 suited, but obviously not against fives. Not good. Now the hands are really coming around fast and furious. Queen Jack suited, perfectly good raising hand. Has Georgi got something to defend with? It looks like it. 8-6. Ambitious, but he's got money in the pot. It's only costing him 700. Gets to see a flop and he's in position. And he's hit that fairly well. He's up and down. Whereas Martin, who raised in the first place, is unlikely to have hit that flop. So, yep, I like this. Perfectly fair call. King could slow Georgie down a bit, but also it could slow Martin down, because he's got to be thinking, well, what has Georgie called me with? So let's see if he's got going to play tough poker. 6 million in the pot. The way he's been playing so far, I think he won't be betting too much, but it's a nice bet. I think roughly half the pot, I think. Maybe 2.5 million. 3.5 million, so more than half the pot. Georgie likes his odds here. He's up and down, and we know that if he hits an 8 or a 6, he's also going to be winning. But he is only a 30% equity. Now Martin has hit his jack, and although it's a heart, he will check He's probably going to check call, but this is Georgie's strength. He makes bets when he has nothing. I'm not sure the bet's big enough. Yep, definitely calling there, Martin. Yeah, he bet 5 million into 18 million. And Martin very happy with himself. And he's saying, naughty Georgie, bluff it, trying to bluff me. So he was ahead the whole time with the Queen Jack. I think Georgie missed a trick there, because if he's going to play his 8-6, he needs to be probably raising on the turn. So if he's confident enough to play it and feels he has enough equity with the draw, then he needs to be putting maximum pressure. And if he had raised on the turn, Martin would have had to fold his black Queen Jack on a red board and having nothing to do with anything on board. So I think Georgie, for all his good poker instincts that we've seen so far, slightly misread the situation and didn't play that hand optimally. And I'm being harsh, but then this is also part of learning how to play the final stages of a poker tournament. You have to play tough, and he certainly has been. But that particular case, the chances of a raiser hitting a low board are quite low. Usually going to have 2 high cards. So you can play your lower cards much stronger than he did. So I favour a raise to about 10 million on the turn, and we know from Martin's hand that he would have had to fold. He's not calling there. And unfortunately, he made his bet of 5 million once Martin had actually hit. Great flop for... Got the Queen, and he's got the gut shot and the nut flush draw. Yeah. He was always going to take that down one way or other. Martin only drawing to a 9. And a 9 would have made a straight. Once you're down to 3 players on a final table, a lot of it is quite small margins. A card here, 1 card over there, that kind of thing. You often get quite close hands, so the winner of pots tends to be the braver of the player. Wolfgang is certainly moving gears a bit, plus he's got the right hands to do it. So I like this. He's got ace-10. He's 3-2. Even Georgie is not going to play 3-2 offsuit.
It was on our table, yeah? Hey, that's the show.
So we have a Hungarian, an Austrian, and a local Slovak. All countries very close to Slovakia. You can be in Vienna within half an hour. It's a good airport to fly into if you want to come and play here at Casino Banco, or Banco Casino. Always get it wrong. You can get the casino will arrange a taxi for about 50 euros for you, or you can even get a bus for 5-6 euros straight from the airport to a walk away from the casino. And the Crown Plaza Hotel, which is a very nice hotel, sits on top of the casino, and there are special deals that you can get through the casino. In fact, if you play 6 hours of cash in a 24-hour period, the casino will get you your room, and that's worth about 100 euros. So that adds to your potential profit from playing cash. And a lot of local players and foreign players like myself take advantage of that. It's a very good offer, good deal. You don't get to see those kind of deals in England, in the UK. In fact, you're seeing less and less of that in other places. So this is a fantastic place to come and play poker. Friendly, cheap city, nice city, great people, good food everywhere. Fantastic Italian restaurant around the corner. Good Slovak food, kind of dumplings and pork and duck and all that kind of thing. Why am I talking about food? Oh yeah, because I haven't eaten. He's 3 because they've got their money in the bank already, all relaxed. In many ways, Whether one of them wins the extra 11k or not, it's not going to change their lives. I think it's the biggest win for all three that any of them have had. So very good. Wolfgang raising hands at the right time. I love that. 5-6 suited and makes a strong raise. He's got the chip stack, he's got the chip lead, and he's using that effectively. And that is the way to play a final table. So he is really putting himself in a great position to win this tournament. He's playing big hands and raising, and he's also playing the kind of variable hands like 5-6 suited and raising with that. And that's a great tactic, great strategy, because people never quite know whether you got a big hand or not. And he's shown big hands when he has raised. I don't know what's going on there. I think Georgie's raised in a very messy way. Even he doesn't know what he's raised, I think. I think it's 1.8. So Wolfgang has called. So the pot is now called with 7-5 offsuit. Okay. And he's hit his 7. He's in position. Georgie can't make too many moves now with his stack. He only has 8 million behind, and there's already 4 million in the pot. So he's probably going to have to fold this, because I think if he makes a move, he'll get called. He got 2 overcards. He may feel that, yeah, he's called. Wolfgang won't be quite so confident about his 7, and Georgie has hit his king. Yeah, good read, Wolfgang. He hit his king. Now, a better play there, Georgie, my friend, would have been to check and let Wolfgang hang himself. And if he checks behind, you can still bet on the river. So I don't actually like that bet on the turn, because he's hit his card and not got maximum value from it. But a very brave stroke, interesting call on the turn. He really had nothing except 2 overcards and got very lucky. But then he's a brave Hungarian. He's a gay hussar. Is that right? What was the famous Hungarian? Was it Cossacks or hussars? I don't know. I have to check my history. But I love the way he's played this final table, along with Wolfgang. And Martin has been no slouch either. Martin has played very well when he's had the hands, and also made some good raises with disguised hands, more variable. Now, Georgie was under threat there of having a very small stack, took a punt on the turn and hit his overcards, one of them. We're going to raise on the small blind with an ace, perfectly fair raise. Georgie has Jack 9. I can't see him folding this. No, definitely not. Just call. So we have 2.5 million in the pot. Georgie has half of Martin's stack, may be significant if this carries on. Martin has missed the flop, but he may follow through on the bet. Georgie has got the up and down. Now again, this is an interesting one. He's flat calling, but this is an opportunity to have raised with a good draw. Now Martin has the nut flush draw and is certainly not going anywhere, whatever Georgie does. And Georgie has hit his up and down, his magic straight. He will bet it. I think he's gone all in. Again, a lot of inexperience there. You can only get called by a better hand. So if he happens to have Queen 10 or not going to call with ace high. I think Georgie got lucky there. And Martin could have made a bet with the nut flush draw on the turn, because I think Georgie had shown weakness by not raising earlier with his up and down. So I think Martin kind of let him win that, let him get in there. Once you've raised, you need to follow through and show strength. Now we know Georgie would have called and did call the flop, but that turn improved Martin's hand, but he didn't then play on it. I think he's unhappy with how he played that hand, or at least unhappy with the result. Small and big blind, King 7 offsuit is playing Wolfgang's Jack 3, and the Jack has hit. But he's slow playing it by, I think, checking. I like this. Making a small bet on the turn. Yeah. Georgie has Jack 9 on suited on the button. He'll certainly raise with this hand. He's had this hand before and raised, and there were more players on the table. So we see 1.5 million and an insta call from our chip leader Wolfgang. And I think we see a re-raise. So Wolfgang has 5. This is interesting. Ace 5 suited. I love this re-raise. Georgie could get in a lot of trouble here. They've all three are in the pot. This is a big pot. One person is going to win a very big pot here. Already 14 million. So Georgie literally only has a pot size bet on his stack. The other two have double the pot, but the blinds are really quite large now. Very interesting hand. They all have perfectly good hands. The ace 5 will not help the 5s. George has hit, and I think, depending on what Martin does, I think Georgie will get it in here. Yeah, definitely got it in. He's hit. He's not going anywhere. The 5s are going to fold, and they have. And I think the ace 5 will fold as well. Unfortunately, his bet was quite large. He's almost priced himself in. I think Martin made a bit of a mistake there with such a strong bet. So he bet half the pot, but in effect, if Georgie raises, he's almost committed, and he has no kind of hand. He's literally drawing to an ace. 15-16% equity. He may just have to give this up. He made a play, didn't work, on to the next hand. I mean, you know. He's getting 5-1, but he's less than 5-1. That's 20%. So, you know, he's only got 16% equity. So it's not actually mathematically a good call. He knows he's losing. He has to be losing for Georgie to bet. He's losing to a 9 or a 10 for sure. He may even be losing to ace 9 or ace 10, in which case even his ace is no good if it hits. They're in one spade, so he's got backdoor flush. I can't, there's really, except for the mathematical 5 to 1, it's he's in a tough spot. That's the problem in making such a strong bet on that flop against the shortest stack. He's trying to work out the maths of it. It's not a good call. Unfortunately, he got in trouble with that bet. If he spikes an ace, then he would get very lucky, but he hasn't played this hand well. If you hadn't made a deal, you probably wouldn't be touching this. Maybe not even raising. He's now against 2 pairs, so he's drawing dead. So a big double up for Georgie there. And he's right back in it now on 43 million. That's the most aggressive, arguably best player on the table overall. Has won a very big pot, biggest pot of the day. That's because he called a re-raise with Jack 9, hid his hand, was never going to fold. And I think the other option Martin had there was just to kind of give up on that flop. It's not a good flop for him. He's got very little chance of winning. But because he bet 7.5 million and then felt he had to call the other 7.5 million, he's lost 15 million more than he needed to. So again, some inexperience from our local hero, Slovak Martin. So Martin is pushing with King 10. I think Georgie will call here with a pair of 5s. He's got a pair. Very rare to get a pair. Yeah, he's called. So we have a 50-50 situation, what's called in poker a flip. We've got 2 overcards that are connected against a pair of 5s. So Martin really needs to see a king or a 10 on the flop and not get too much of a sweat. Of course, any 5 will pretty well end it for him. We have a flop. Oh, Queen 9-7. So he has a gut shot draw, a jack now, as well as a king or a 10. He has a backdoor flush draw with the 10 of hearts as well. That's a bad card. The 5s are still holding. Can Georgie wipe him out in 2 hands? He certainly can. Martin, well done. He came 3rd. A handshake from the tournament director, Suze. And if he looks back on this stream, I think hopefully he'll realise that nothing wrong with the re-raise in the first place, but just such a bad flop for his hand. He had to close down there and he'd have had 15 million more to play. And we're about to go heads up. And the table has been reset for our heads up. We have Georgie, who's come through to be the chip leader. 53 million, 106 big blinds against our Austrian Wolfgang, who still has a very good stack. Usually with heads up, it comes down to one big hand where both players feel they're ahead and it all goes mad. Interesting hand here. So we have queens against 8-7 suited, queens raised, and they've hit a flush draw and an overpair. I don't think Georgie's going to get too cute here. Wolfgang is betting his hand and a fold. Both had very playable hands there. Obviously queens, a very premium hand heads up, but 8-7 suited is also good. A very different dynamic heads up. People would raise with a much wider variety of hands. Jack 8 suited Wolfgang has raised with, which is a strong hand and called though, more importantly by King 5. Problem is King 5 has missed, so Wolfgang will win on the follow through. So at the moment in this heads up, Wolfgang is 2 for 2. One with a premium hand, the other with a very good raising hand, and then a follow through. He's been particularly good at the C-bet, as it's called, when you've raised pre-flop and you haven't really hit the flop, but you still bet it because you've shown strength earlier. Most of it, I think 90% of his bets on this final table have got through, and that's why he's in the last two. Both playing for 11,000 more euros. Wolfgang under the ICM has 37 and Georgie 32.5. King Jack suited, a very nice hand to raise with. 10-5 offsuit, Georgie. Not a good hand to defend with. Well played. At the moment, all the hands and the fortune is favouring Wolfgang. Georgie started with almost 50% more chips, but that will have balanced off a fair bit from the last three hands. Lots of different ways of playing heads up. There's a Swedish player I know, female, who is an excellent heads up player, and she has a very small ball approach to it. Just chips away, and that's her approach of playing, whether she has big hands or not. So here we've got a flat call with a 7-5 offsuit. We're going to see, okay, Wolfgang's gone back into slow playing his big hand, except he's walked into some trouble. Got a very good pre-flop hand of ace-queen, but he's allowed Georgie to hit a pair and an up and down draw. And that's the problem with slow playing a big hand like ace-queen. If he'd raised in the first place, maybe Georgie would have folded his 7-5 offsuit. Don't know. But it's a strategy, it's a tactic. Slow play your big hands heads up and then let the other person get in trouble. But the problem is when a connected low board like that comes and you've got two high cards, you're in trouble. Just a flat call again. So in heads-up play, the button becomes the small blind. It kind of reverses. Georgie has hit his queen, and unfortunately for Wolfgang, has hit his jack. And now he has a flush draw, but Georgie has the 3 queens, so Wolfgang needs to hit a flush, and he does hit a flush. Except Georgie has hit a full house. Wow, this could be the final hand of the night, guys. We've got a full house playing. Yep, I think he went all in and called. I think Georgie has won this with a magic river. What a hand. I told you that we'd have a hand where they both hit. And Wolfgang is in second place. And my final table favourite from early on, said it early on, was that Georgie was playing the best poker. And here he very happy Hungarian. What's a happy Hungarian in Hungarian? Suze is going to take a photo. Very pleased. Played great poker. Wolfgang unlucky there. He's hit his hand, hit his flush. And we have a winner. So Georgi had 32,500 in the bank. He adds 11 to that, so he will go away with 44,000 euros, just ahead of Wolfgang, who will take away 37,500. And both fantastic results. Both played very well, I think, on this final table. And we have a Hungarian winner of the Banco Casino Masters. The next broadcast will be at the end of the month, which will be the 200k guaranteed Hendon Mob final. Looking forward to that. Might have some interesting announcements on the Banco Casino website and marketing channels soon about that tournament. Waiting to hear a very, very special announcement.